First, I would like to say that I started to work with REACCH as a fresh PhD student, and now I graduated. And I would like to thank for Sanford, great leadership, dance, a great management skills, and Judy. I had a lot of fun every year, travel to Idaho to do grad student retreat, and also I would like to thank for Chad to give an opportunity to collaborate with Tina to design a grad student extension product. So I learned a lot from you guys. And today I'm going to present some results about economic implications of climate change for wheat farms in this region. You can see from the list, it's a combination of scientists and social scientists, as well as faculty and grad students. So this is a truly interdisciplinary work. And the results I'm going to present today are actually just submitted to two interdisciplinary journal articles. So this is achievement we've been get. So the big picture, in this morning, Zhang and Claudio talking about climate change and its impact on crop and crop yields. As economists, we care about farmers and their economic return because we believe economic return is the decision-making call for them to choose crops and input use as well as changing their production system. So this is the basis for the adaptation part. And also policymakers care about economic returns because some policy goals like a poverty index are related to economic returns. So we break into two questions. First, what are economic impacts of climate change for wheat farms in this region in terms of crop productivity, profitability, and vulnerability? By vulnerability, I mean the percent of farms losing from climate change. The second question is, what are available adaptations for farms? We consider both within system adaptation, for example, changing planting date or tillage practices, as well as between system adaptation, for example, changing cropping systems and agricultural land use. The framework we used is regional integrated assessment. This framework just combined downscaled climate output, simulated crop yields under current and future climate conditions, as well as future economic conditions into one economic simulation model to evaluate the economic impact of climate change. And we get the climate data from Zhang and simulated crop yields from Claudio. And for the future socioeconomic conditions, we designed representative agricultural pathways. Why we need these numbers? In the future world, not only climate, but also future conditions like prices will change as well. So we have to incorporate both climate dimension and the socioeconomic dimension into assessment. So we teamed up with several experts in different fields from REACCH project, including Sanford, Chad, and JD. We designed 3 representative agricultural pathways, REACCH, to quantify the parameters used in economic simulations. 3 REACCH we designed. One is sustainable development, which represents a green pathway with more conservation, as well as a dysfunctional world, which is a white card with restricted trade, and the business as usual is just in between. It seems that a white card we thought before now is just a new normal. This slide shows the changes in crop yields in 2050 under RCP 4.5. Each bar represents the changes in crop yields across 14 different climate models. We can see that across different crop varieties, we can see crop activities, we can see on average crop activity increases in this region, except under some climate models, summer crops actually will experience some losses. And this WWF is fellow system WWT is transitional system, and WWA is annual cropping system. So this slide tells us in 2050, on average, wheat farms in this region will benefit from climate change under the median carbon emission scenario. That is the average effect. This slide shows the distribution effect on crop yields. This slide plots a histogram of a relative yield for all the farms using annual cropping system in this region in 2050. The relative yield, if it is 1, it means wheat yield will goes up. And if it is less than 1, it means it is a yield loss. So we can see that even though, based on previous slide, on average, wheat yield will increase in 2050, still some farms will lose from climate change, will get yield loss. So we have to keep in mind this distribution effect. The next slide is the economic impact of climate change. We translate the impact of yield productivity into economic profitability and variability using a TOAMD model. We can see that based on the indicators of net gains at either % of farm net return or % of total household income, we can see that on average in 2050, wheat farms still are going to benefit or increase their economic returns due to climate change. But if we look at the vulnerability index, this is the % of farms are going to lose from climate change. There's still around like 20 to 30% of farms will get economic losses from climate change. So this has big policy implication. It means although in this region in 2050 we get farms profitable from climate change, still some farms need support because of economic losses due to climate change. This slide evaluates 2 different sources because we combine climate modeling and the socio-economic conditions into the model. So both parties has uncertainty. How this uncertainty contribute to the variation in economic results, we evaluated them. We found that although the climate modeling uncertainty contribute to the largest part of the variation in impact results, we still find future economic conditions plays an important role. Specifically, in particular, we can see that for the small farms using fallow system, the prices effect is pretty high, almost the same as climate change effect. So that means we have to incorporate future economic conditions into assessment. That is for impact assessment part. We also do some analysis for adaptations. We consider 3 different adaptations. First, changing tillage practices. We find almost no effect on crop productivity part. And we also consider changing cropping systems. For example, some farms now using fallow system might change into annual cropping system. We developed 2 different methods to measure this change. We use simulation match method and propensity score match method. The general conclusion we find in 2050, farmers in this region will fallow less and use more annual cropping system. The last one, we look at agricultural land use change using some statistical approaches. We find in 2050, farmers will use more cropland and reduce the share of pasture land as well as rangeland. As for future directions, we're going to continue work on adaptations for wheat farms in this region. In terms of policy changes, for example, crop insurance, as well as some other new technologies, for example, introducing new crop species into current production system. We also would like to look at some environmental consequences, for example, the mitigation of carbon emission through adaptations, as well as shift our focus from wheat system to specialty crops, because specialty crops consume tons of water and they have important health implications, especially under the context of frequent droughts. And that's it.